Oh my, it's Qwentophy.
Have you ever had one of those days where you find yourself eating a bowl of cornflakes while wearing your favorite bulletproof vest and staring at a microwave thinking, why is there a bottle of nitrous oxide in there? And more importantly, how the hell did I even figure out how to create a microwave in the first place? And then your stethoscope fell out of your pocket. Well, if you've never had those moments, good news. Because in this video, we're gonna talk about inventions with interesting backstories from Chinese immortality, pizza deliveries, touching yourself, and everything in between. A lot were happening in the 60s. Events like civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, hippies, and the first man on the moon. But a guy by the name of Richard Davis didn't distract himself with these things and only had one mission in mind: to deliver freshly made pizzas across America. Davis owned 3 pizza joints in Detroit, Michigan known as RC's Pizza. One night, he made a delivery to a shady-looking house with no lights. Upon arriving on the address, he knew something was off and he sure as hell ate the pizzas. Instead of knocking on the door, he stood on the sidewalk and shouted, "Did anyone order pizza?" A voice in the dark replied back and said, "Sure, come in the back." Unbeknownst to the bad guys, Mr. Richard is actually a former US Marine and is no stranger to slinging lead. He took out his revolver and placed it under the pizza box just in case. While making his way to the side of the house, he was met by 3 guys with one of them pointing a firearm at his face. Davis took the first shot and quickly incapacitated the assailants. Fortunately, he was only hit in the leg and was grazed on the forehead. While recovering in the hospital, he had an epiphany. He realized that if delivery guys had it this bad, what more would police officers? So he decided to create a vest capable of stopping bullets. Inventions like these were not new, but they were heavy, bulky, and impractical. So Davis created a checklist that would revolutionize personal protection. It needed to be light enough for everyday use, but strong enough to handle even a .357 Magnum. Eventually, he was successful in producing the first prototype. But how would you convince the masses that your product actually works? The solution was simple. He shot himself. People were so impressed that Davis was able to start a company called Second Chance, which barely kept up with the many orders for his invention. The Tang dynasty, which ruled from the years 618 to 907, was considered the golden age of Chinese history. They were known for their contributions such as advancement in arts, culture, cuisine, and technology. They also facilitated and created successful diplomatic relations and economic growth by way of the Silk Road, which is an ancient trade route that connected the Western world to the Middle East and Asia. The Li family, which is the main ruler during that time, worked tirelessly to ensure that law, order, peace, and prosperity were kept and maintained throughout successive generations. One of their goals is improving the overall health and medical standards for their people. They did this by researching and expanding on the knowledge they already had about medicine. Sky was the limit during their time, and eventually, they thought of grander things like immortality. With the limited funding and resources, their best alchemists were given the task of creating the magic elixir that would make them all live forever. After centuries of trial and error, they were still not able to create their coveted immortal juice. But an alchemist, driven by frustration, curiosity, boredom, or probably all of the above, combined a mixture of saltpeter, powdered charcoal, and sulfur. It didn't help them in getting any closer to their goal, but hey, it sure as hell created cool sparks and explosion. Over the years, despite their best efforts to keep it a secret, information about the ingredients for this mixture was leaked, possibly via trading, which resulted to the benefit of India, the Middle East, and Europe. Nobody likes a complaining Karen, but this is definitely an exception because their pettiness caused a worldwide sensation. This story takes us back to Saratoga Springs in New York, where it all allegedly started. Can you imagine dragging yourself back to work and the first thing that greets you is an irate customer yapping on about the simplest things? Well, that's exactly what happened to our guy back in 1853, and his name is George Crumb. Apparently, a customer was dissatisfied with their fried potatoes because it was too thick and soggy. That's understandable. I mean, who would want a greasy, soggy tater? Mr. Crumb happily obliged and cooked up a fresh batch. To the customer's disappointment, it was still not up to their Karen standards. This went on up until the 3rd time when George finally had enough and formulated a malicious intent. He went back to the kitchen, gripping the knife hard and grinning from ear to ear. He could have spit in them potatoes, but no, he had something more diabolical in mind. He proceeded to cut those potatoes so thin it would make a discount one-ply toilet paper jealous. He proudly walked back to the customer and prepared himself for the struggle that it would cost their patron. But to his surprise, the customer actually loved it, even going so far as to call it the perfect potato chips. This left George Crumb bewildered but inspired. Since then, his method of cooking has been known locally as the Saratoga chips, which was frequented by customers even from far places. The ubiquitous and humble cornflakes, a staple of any diet, an easy and quick to make breakfast. Sure, you've thought about how it was made, but have you asked yourself why it was made? Was it for profit? Was it to provide an affordable food item for struggling children? Or an overabundance of near-expired milk? Nope, it was actually masturbation. Yes, you heard it right. Choke the chicken, stick operator, downstairs DJ, speed dial the waterworks. Brothers John Harvey Kellogg and Will Keith Kellogg didn't invent the cereal, but they did create the modern-day cornflakes. It was originally a health food for patients in sanitariums in Battle Creek, Michigan. John is a prominent figure in the Seventh-day Adventist Church and a firm believer in the holy principles of clean living by consuming whole grains to have a holy digestive tract. The cornflake was a happy accident when a batch of cereal dough was left out too long and it fermented. Eventually it grew molds, but instead of throwing it away, they pressed it into thin sheets and baked it until it became crispy. These cornflakes were deliberately free from sugar to pass the holy vibe and commit to healthy living. Apparently, the other benefit of eating bland foods is that it rewires the brain and prevents you from craving immoral things. And the rest was masturbation prevention history. We continue our saintly topic from a story that came straight out of France in the 1860s from a physician named René Laennec. French people, please don't kill me if I mispronounce that. His actual full name is René Théophile Hyacinthe Laennec. Mr. René here is actually also a master at carving wooden flutes. This would come to his advantage later on because one of the problems not talked about as a physician back then was pressing their ears against a woman's chest to hear their heartbeat. Now sure, this could possibly be resolved by mutual consent, but it sure as hell didn't make it any less awkward. René, being the absolute gentleman that he is, would not let this issue go unresolved. He remembered the days of his childhood when they would press their ear on one end of a long piece of solid wood. Another kid would tap on the other end and they would actually hear it. Inspired by this, he invented a tube which tapered at the end. He tested this on his next patient and to his surprise, it actually worked. In fact, it worked so well that it even amplified the sound of heartbeat, which made it easier to hear. This inundated the method of ear pressing on the patient's chest, much to the dismay of his colleagues. René devoted his life treating medical issues concerning the lungs. Unfortunately, he would succumb to tuberculosis at the age of 45, but his legacy would live on forever. You probably heard about nitrous oxide in video games or movies, which is often used to make a car drive faster. But its humble or party trick beginnings actually started back in 1772 with a chemist named Joseph Priestley. Back then, nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, had very little practical uses, apart from using it as a cure for nagging women. No, literally, that's what they used it for. Before the discovery of anesthesia, patients were up to the mercy of alcohol, distraction, or getting bonked in the head so they would pass out. That would all change when Horace Wells, a dentist in Hartford, had one of his friends take too many hits of nitrous. It's said that during a stage show, in an attempt to entertain a large crowd, he was doing knife juggling acts when it accidentally dropped on his foot. To his surprise, his friend actually laughed it off and said he didn't feel a thing. This aha moment sparked an idea in Horace's head. He went on to patent nitrous as medical-grade anesthesia, taking all of the credit for himself. But life would eventually get to him because he died a tragic death due to a lifetime addiction from his own patented product. This little blue pill that could started its life with the idea that it can treat or at the very least alleviate conditions like hypertension or angina. which is a severe chest pain due to heart disease. Scientists were looking for a safe and quick oral treatment where you could just pop a pill in your mouth and fix the problem. Clinically known as sildenafil, it worked by improving blood flow from the heart and pushing it elsewhere into the body where it needs to go. Depending on how you look at it, this caused questionable side effects because it helped parts of the body where blood used to flow. During its testing phase, they discovered that majority of their test participants reported an increase in excitement down the nether regions. Pfizer, which is the company that created this drug, ultimately scrapped its original plans because they had a multi-billion-dollar idea. They often say that sex sells, but Pfizer took it one step further and marketed the drug as a cure for erectile dysfunction. Eventually, after countless boners and testing, the Food and Drug Administration gave it the green light in 1998 as a breakthrough medication which offers a safe and non-invasive solution for limp manhood. Thanks to Viagra, grandpas worldwide were able to relive their glory days. Wow, what a way to end this video. And that's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing for future content. There's another video that came before this, so give that a watch if you guys are interested. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next content. Till then, stay tuned.